So let's start from data. Okay, everybody talk about data, but actually in the world of ACOF, data means knowing nothing. So if you only have data, you don't know anything at all, because data do not make sense by themselves. If I tell you 900 kilos, good to know. I mean, it's something that really doesn't, it's a data, but it doesn't give you anything. If I tell you the most expensive house is like $220 million, you say, $220 million? How much are $220 million? So you get with a lot or a little, but 220 million. And so does data visualization. Data visualization makes not much sense. I mean, it's beautiful, aesthetically engaging. It might help you finding patterns, but in itself, it doesn't really tell you much more than what you already know, or if you don't know, it doesn't really help you in understanding. This is a very beautiful example by Matthias Dietrich. He did the visualization of different music pieces, and this is the data visualization of the Symphony No. 5 of Beethoven. It's beautiful, represent the data, but it's not really useful or not really meaningful. And many other examples you must have seen. This is a very famous flying patterns by Aaron Cobling in Stamen design. I mean, it's beautiful, and sure, it shows you the patterns of the flights traveling around America. So you can see that Atlanta is the main hub, in case you didn't know, and New York has more flights than. And another example is the Opti project, is at MoMA now. He made a map of the internet that is beautiful and give us a lot of hints about the fact that the internet has a shape of hub and spokes that we already knew, but it's very beautiful and represents all the connection in the internet, but it doesn't really help us understanding or getting any new information. Different is with information. Information, I could say, information is knowing what. So it's data, put it in context. So Pablo Picasso was a painter, that's an information. Then maybe information is useless, you don't do anything with it, but it contains meaning. Or Bangkok is bigger than Milan, in case you didn't know, but that's an information. And these are examples of information visualization. This is a very famous one, you probably have seen it. It's a Minard information visualization of the Russian campaign of Napoleon with all the army going and dying, so the thickness decrease with all the people dying. So they go, then they arrive in Moscow and they decided that they better come back. So they come back and then they die, and then at the end there's like 3 of them left. This is a very famous one, but I show you another one less famous but more beautiful. Same, Minard. This is very old, and it shows you the flows of immigrants through the world. This is a content data put in context, so it's information visualization. And then it comes to knowledge. Knowledge is a very funny one, and it's usually know-how. So it's an internalization on putting in use information you have. So when your mom or your big brother tells you that if you drink too much, the day after you're going to feel very bad, that's a very useful information, and it's knowledge. So you know how much you should drink or not drink. Information, knowledge visualization examples are, for example, the reflexology diagrams. So are visualization that express and contain the knowledge about how to do something. And this is one of my favorite examples. I love this piece. This is a map of the Marshall Islands. Actually, in real life looks like that. And it's a map you can bring in your boat, so even if it gets wet, doesn't matter. And you follow the lines are the wave, and the stream, imagine you're in the Marshall Islands, so you're in a boat and you're paddling to go to the next island. And this is a map of where the islands that are the little white dot. And you use these lines to recognize the position of the other islands compared to the stream you can see while you're. So, and then a little bit on wisdom, just to talk. Most of the people that use the pyramid from Akov, they don't use the wisdom at all. They don't even talk about that. But a little bit of wisdom is good. I mean, in Asia, you're an expert on that. Buddhism addressed the issue a lot, so it's actually a very good place to research on this. But they say, okay, wisdom is knowing why. So understanding the reason why things happen. Aristotle, and here I quote some Western philosophers, says that wisdom is understanding why things are the way they are. So not only knowing that they are like that. Then the research said to Akhoff that the pyramid was very boring, and they actually work over that to transform the pyramid from a pyramid that is very hierarchical, and we don't like that anymore, very 90s shape. And they transform it into a continuum in which data, from data to information, is a matter of understanding a relation. So data are information without relations. And then from information to knowledge is understanding patterns. And then from knowledge to wisdom is understanding principle. So the more understanding you have and the more connecting the dots you can, then the more close to wisdom you are. What's the difference between those four things? Everybody talk about them and nobody define them ever. We all call them diagram, or we call them charts, or we call them graph, or we call them map, or information visualization is a mixture of them usually. And we try here to give you a little bit of hint of what's the difference between them so that we can more easily use them. So we start from the easy one. So basically what we see around and what Excel or bankers or economic analytics people are very expert in are what we call graph. That is a mathematical form that plots value of a function. Basic as it is. It can have many different shapes, but a graph is any visual representation of a function, mathematical function. That's a graph, easier it is. Then a chart, and this is a lot of people have confusion about that, is the way to depict that specific data. So, of course, you can have, for the same data, you can use a bar chart, a pie chart, a blah 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 chart, and many different flow charts, etc. Of course, there are some charts that are more appropriate for some specific type of data, but in general, a chart is the way the type of representation you choose to make a graph. And then it comes the diagram. Diagram, that is my favorite one. I really love diagram. I have an obsession for diagram. Becomes a little bit more complex because when you don't have to only plot mathematical function, but you have a complex set of information, then that complexity doesn't fit anymore into a chart or a graph. Actually, into a graph in any form of chart. So you use diagram. So diagram is actually an illustration, visualization, schematic drawing. It can have different way of being visualized of a more complex set of data. Something that is difficult to explain with only words. And usually that happens in two cases. Or you have too many data, so it's too difficult to just say, or the data are quality. So you cannot really describe it. So a color will explain more than what you can say by word. And then this is a bigger example of the one before. Last one is a map. So a map is a visual representation of a space. The space can be geographical, so physical space, or it can be an abstract space, but it's always the representation between that space and its relation with the context. Usually when we do information visualization, we put them all together. So this is a good example in which you have your graphs in the shape of a bar chart, etc., your map, and also a diagram, meaning that that map has been treated to contain more information than just a layer of geographical information, so it becomes a diagram.